thought of that shit. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Like, for him to execute it basically by himself, he like shunned the light away from his face and shit, and put on wigs.
Yeah, that was smart. The prosthetics.
I actually have a different theory about that.
Go ahead.
That whole section of scenes. So my thing, when I was watching that, it was like not more. It felt more like V wanted Evie to experience what he went through.
Yeah.
So, cause she was still like, she still wasn't believing. Cause even when the whole priest scene, like she wasn't believing. And like, oh, this guy's like crazy. Like he was still like warning the priest, like you got to leave right now. Somebody's gonna kill you. You know?
Yeah.
Like so, this guy's gonna kill you. And I felt like he wanted her to experience like, yo, like this isn't a joke. Like this is what people went through. You know? So she could see the wrong that she was doing, and sometimes showing people what you went through or telling them what you went through is enough for people to understand, like, hey, like this is like you know, sometimes you have to see it a different way for you to realize, like, holy shit, like they can't believe people were living like this or are living like this, you know?
Yeah, this isn't the way.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Diego, to touch on like what you said, I felt like he had a process when he captured her. When he first interrogated her, he asked her the question, like, would you give up this V character's location? And since she said no, he said, or she didn't even say anything. She just kept quiet. And so he said, all right, let's start the process. I felt like that was his okay in his mind to say, hey, Evie is down, so I'm going to give her that experience to understand what happened to me. And so when he gave her all of those letters that he was receiving from that lesbian in the cell next door or whatever, he wanted her to experience that same
Valerie Flats.
Yeah, that she was like an actress that was detained for being an open lesbian. So he wanted her, because during that time that he was in that prison, they did like experiments to these people, and like he basically became like almost like superhuman and almost near death experience by burning and having like 4th degree burns all over his body.
And she was actually the room next to V, fool. That's why he for what happened to her too.
If you pay attention throughout the film, you can see her and see her journey, and then you see her getting how you say, like at the end, thrown into like the big ass massive pit or whatever, and she's one of the people that you see in the pit and stuff. So you can kind of follow. It was almost like, sadly to say, it was almost like a concentration camp.
Mm-hmm.
It almost looked like
the Lark Hill experiment, dude. Basically,
like Schindler's List type shit, dude.
They were trying to create like super soldiers, people immune to like diseases and shit. It was weird. Like it's not fully explained, but they were making like a weird project there.
They were trying to find superhuman. They were trying to create superhuman soldiers there, and that's what they did. That's what happened to V.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think like that could happen though. I mean, we are seeing it in a modern way where we have like the INS detention centers.
Yeah.
You know?
The ICE detention centers, the fucking who knows what goes on at Guantanamo Bay and all of that stuff. Who knows what they're doing.
Arizona.
Yep. All of that shit.
Oh, that force feeding tube down your throat, through your nose and through your throat.
That shit is heartbreaking, man.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
I was gonna say, I'd have to say my favorite scene. I really liked the underlying theme of the comedian guy who was kind of like a Saturday Night Live or like a Jimmy Fallon type dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that reminded me of Joker, which was before the Joker.
Yeah, Daddy Dietrich, or his name was Mr. Dietrich.
Yeah, And it was crazy because he was found to be a gay, dude. Like, not to say...
Yeah, he was closeted gay.
He was a homosexual that had...
He had the what? The Bible? He had
the Quran.
The Quran on him. He just thought that shit was beautiful, and he got adopted by the government at that time, dude. Like, that's not...
Yeah, I liked his, basically all his parts, because it showed you that not only was there people out there that were trying to voice their opinion on stuff, but just like the unspoken celebrities trying to just hide themselves so they don't get outed. And basically, he was like, let alone I won't even have a house or a show, but they'll probably would kill me and shit. So for him,
he says there's nothing to worry about too, and like what happened.
Yeah, Neville got taken out, but that just shows you, like, that dictator was powerful enough to take anybody out if you spoke against them.
Yeah, I like how he said, like, if they found you here, Evie, you would be the least of my worries of what they found.
I think he was talking about himself, that he's gonna get killed. Like,
yeah, because he had pictures of him, like him and his like it was basically pornography, and he also had like the dictator dressed up as the queen. Yeah,
God Save the Queen.
God Save the Queen, and then he had World War III, like Nazi paraphernalia. Mm-hmm. He had all kinds of shit. So that was kind of cool to me, because he was like a celebrity that was still trying to be a person,
Yeah.
I think he understood what these people were fighting for. That's why I think when you see, it could be either way. You could either fall into the trap of like, I'm the shit, or you could be a believer in like the truth and what it really signifies. Because a lot of people believe their own bullshit, and that's what I've heard so much time and again, a lot of and I'm not saying not just celebrities, but even musicians and artists, they believe their own bullshit sometimes, and they're naive. And they're naive to what the true, what's going on in humanity itself. They reject everything that's going on in humanity and focus on themselves.
Did you guys catch on to where he said he threw out the sanction or the approved script for the show and did his own? So like the government's basically monitoring and approving what they can and can't say.
Yeah, you kind of get a taste of that when he's having a meeting about after the Bailey is blown up. And he's trying to get information from each one of his henchmen or whatever that are there in each department. And at the end of before he logs off of the big screen, he says, "I want Prothero to run a subject on the
demolition."
Yeah, like he specifically says the dangers of old structures.
Yeah.
So right there, it kind of tells you that he has a say-so on what the mainstream media is putting out there. So, but what about you, Wes? What was your like favorite part or whatever?
That's a hard one, because there's so much classic stuff that goes on in this film. I would say the end result, when he is able to execute his revolution and blow up the tower, and like there's so many people that come out in response to V and basically overpower the government. Like, there's too many people for even the military to even take out,
I think it starts with the government. A little girl wears the V mask, and she gets shot down ruthlessly by MP5s and fucking just gets melted with, and like everyone sees that, the whole neighborhood, and they just jump one cop, even with the gun. Like, that shows like a lot of what's happening today. Like, I don't know, that's very deep,
very symbolic.
Yeah,
very ahead of it.
Well, they're saying, like, people seem to be afraid of their government when it's really the government should be afraid of the people, because at the end of the day, we outnumber them, and they work for us, and that's what they fucking forget sometimes, or even now.
Yeah, that's why I feel it was so iconic for Anonymous or any type of like revolution to use V as an icon. That's why they all, idolize his how do you say, his vision or his iconic power, because when you see that image of V's face, you automatically know it's revolution. It's like revolt, or it's like a rebel.
What's really he's emulating Guy Fawkes, and what's amazing about this film and the graphic novel is that they're immortalizing this person that would have been forgotten over time. Like his Guy Fawkes happened like in the 1800s.
1800s.
And so if you're not familiar with history or you're not a historian, his story would have been lost, and that's what's so amazing about carrying this on, because it's like really how do you say, like passing on the idea, like that ideas are immortal, like they outlive flesh and bone.
Like the Bible, that's immortal.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's cool that they start the movie off with giving you an introduction of what it all stands for. They show you.
Yeah.
Well,
it's cool because I never knew about that character. I mean, never knew about him, the person, Guy Fawkes.
Guy Fawkes, yeah.
Yeah, and then when I watched this movie, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, is this real? And then I looked it up. And then I think that's the whole point as well, is to kind of pique your interest and make you want to research it.
November 5th, dude.
Remember.
That's how far Rebellion's, been going back, and it's really important just as people to question things and not just go along with this kind of consumer culture that we're accustomed to now, where it's like, don't just abide by the rules, question what's going on around you, and be woke, so to speak.
Yeah.
And what I thought was nuts was the character Creedy, who was under basically fucking Adam Sutler, dude. He was under him, but he found a way to he just killed him, but he found a way to be the new Sutler, killed him, and then automatically assumed what Sutler was doing, being corrupt right away. That shows how quick someone is down to grab that title.
Yeah.
So, like, you gotta watch
it. It was almost like Star Wars. Like, he was his predecessor. Like, he was supposed to kill him.
Yeah.
Like, take his place, Like, it was almost like a mob hit,
Mm-hmm.
They had so much money. When they were naming each of the individuals in that were named after Park Hill, they had so much money. Basically, before fucking the quarantine and the so-called like Civil War on America, like they took advantage of the people. Basically, that priest who was a fucking like rapist got paid like $200,000 euro or something, like every
a month. He got 200 grand a month for being at Lark Hill. But I was gonna say that the people that they infected it was all a government issued infection, so they can that they were planted. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but there was a detective who was doing an investigation, and he figured out that they planted it on these 3 random guys, but there was like a water source that was poisoned.
Yeah, and they said it was extremists who are the ones who did it.
Yeah, like extremists, like Antifas.
Yeah, they were the scapegoats.
So yeah, they labeled them as scapegoats, but they were actually poisoning themselves so they can profit off of a cure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds very very ironic to me, man.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's part of the reason why I picked the movie. It's really relevant and eerily similar to what's going on now.
And this story was written. Correct me if I'm wrong. During the 80s, early 90s,
late 80s, 88, 87.
Hi, I am Natalie Portman. This is Unscripted, and I'm here with Hugo Weaving to talk about our new movie, V for Vendetta. We're going to interview each other using your own questions and some of our own. I will start with the first question. All right, from Edgar Jones.